isn't this very exciting? Welcome to Brave Talk with Ian and Pearl Rogers. I'm Carla and I'll be managing the questions coming through today. A forum like this is just such a wonderful way for us to all, learn, connect and grow together. So a big thank you to you all for being here, and a thank you to Ian and Pearl. As part of the spiritual renaissance, they want to share their spiritual knowledge and information direct from spirit with you so you can live a more meaningful life. We want you to be brave to be you. So questions that you may submit, they might be personal, professional, or spiritual, about your spiritual growth. Maybe you have a philosophical question, or you want to know more generally, more practically, how to live a spiritual life or why. So whatever the question or comment, pop it in the chat function and we'll try and get through as many as possible. So Ian and Pearl, each episode, they're going to kick off Brave Talk with a message from a member of their spiritual council. Now, if you want more information about what that means, or to find out what the spiritual council is or who they are, we've actually got a video on this channel that explains it all. So I'm going to pop a link below to that video after this session. So I believe today's message is from Francis Bacon, who, when he was last on Earth, was a groundbreaking philosopher, scientist, and he led reforms in the legal system, the arts, and government. So Francis will also be joining us next month for 60 minutes, talking all about relationships, and that's through Deep Trance Medium with Mediumship, Ian, and it's an event not to be missed. So I'll actually add that link about the event with the video about the council after this session, so be sure to check those out. But in the meantime, let's do our first Brave Talk session together. So start submitting your questions, and let's get brave, let's get talking. So thanks, Ian and Pearl. And what message does Francis Bacon want to share with us all today?
Thank you. Good morning. From Francis, this is the message. When you believe that the world has gone mad, reflect upon your own behaviour and whether that categorises good or bad behaviour to others. For when you believe that the world has gone mad, it's because you consider that much of what is taking place is bad. It's easy to pass responsibility for a mad world to others, named or unnamed. It's much more difficult to assess your own role in it, including what you've done and what you've omitted to do. Earth is composed of individuals and organisations who represent individuals. Thus, the method of making it a better world resides with the individual. If each individual sets out to make their behaviour better, even by a little, sooner or later it will cause the people leading organisations who make decisions on behalf of the world to raise their standard of decision making in line with the raised community expectation. Better behaviour doesn't necessarily come from shouting from the rooftops or becoming unruly. It comes from living to a set of values to make you more tolerant and accepting of each other, valuing each other's right to live on earth and prosper as people through the use of goodwill. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you. So our first question is actually from Peter Anthony, that says, later this year, the Australian people are being asked to vote in the national referendum for an Indigenous voice to Parliament. What are Spirit's views on this initiative?
Hello, Peter. Well, the initiative, of course, Peter, has been stolen by government, and once again, Indigenous people being told what to do and their free will being taken away. In a real referendum, governments would not influence a vote or declare which way a person should vote. Where there is party support, of course, there is a favour to party. People don't know what the vote question is, and people don't understand why the question is being partnered and sponsored by government and parties. There is still no detail. The public is entitled to be suspicious of what is happening. The question the public must ask is it the right thing for Indigenous people? Does it support the needs of Indigenous people and what they actually need? To ask to be given in advance the steps of how it's going to happen and all the subsequent steps after it does happen is something that's required to inform someone to make a proper vote. What matters is that the initiative to the Indigenous people is made with an intent to support and an intent of love and care for those groups of people. This is the real question of what the initiative should be, Peter. Thank you for your question.
Thanks so much. The next question is from Nicole. I'm currently embarking on the progress of finding a new job, having taken a redundancy. What does being brave look like in regards to job seeking? How to ensure I'm using my free will positively?
Thank you, Nicole. If we've taken a redundancy, or we've taken it by choice, and she received money to leave an organisation, that's the context behind this. From there, what we're looking at is the industry of finding new work usually tries to get people to do the same job but in another organisation. That might or might not work for Nicole. It might or might not suit her. And we would say that because she's left an industry and left a job, she's looking for some sort of a change, particularly if her age is in and around that time of 45 plus. If Nicole says, my job seeking is dependent upon the salary I get, well, then there's no braveness in that. Nicole, you're faced with a decision that says, am I looking for a different type of work to earn an income? Am I looking for something that will make me more satisfied, that will lead me in the direction that I want to go to? And that will decide how you act. What we say is that it's time to be brave and say, I want to get a job that stimulates me more, that fulfills me more, and the salary, etc., is second. The best place to do that is to examine the potential employer about their value set. And if you feel that you have a match, that's the start point. Thank you.
Amazing. So if I'm hoping that at home can hear from here. So I also have one from Carolyn, and Carolyn says, I feel hurt by relationships in my life. I've thrown my energy into my work. Now I'm at a crossroads and my current partner is supportive, but I'm not sure how to know if I'm investing time into the right places with my current partner. I don't know if I'm making decisions the right way or if I'm giving my partner enough. I feel trapped by the past trust issues, and I don't know if I'm responding to current through the lens of the past or if things are really not working. Sometimes I think it's menopause and my body has just turned off. Could this be my age, menopause, or something else? Can you please help?
We'll handle that one together, and perhaps I'll go first. It's self-evident, Caroline, that you're not giving your current partner enough. That's a choice. And what you're pondering is whether that's the right choice. Because you describe this person as your current partner, that indicates that there's an ex-partner. And that brings that question into account, because there are many reasons we don't treat a current partner as well as we should, which includes what we're still feeling about the ex-partner and whether there's a peace about that. What I have with you is that you haven't got a peace about the ex-partner and the relationship. Until you get that, and that is we either go back or we pull apart totally, then you're going to have trouble in any relationship. What I have for you, Caroline, is that it's not right for you to go back. Your state of mind is that that relationship, you left it because it didn't give you enough love. And your state of mind now is that I want to be bold and adventurous and find a new path in my life where I can do something different and find love. That leads us to your current relationship where you're saying the attainment of what I want, that extra love, is not currently there. So you're holding back. There will be other reasons you're holding back, which Pearl will address in just a moment, but you're holding back also because this new gentleman is not providing everything that the previous gentleman didn't provide. That's fanciful to believe that that will happen. The question for you is more, can he? And if we can see the potential for him to grow, then that's a good thing. But what I have with you is that you're not ready for a full commitment to a new relationship at the moment. You need time. You need time to overcome what's happened in the past. You need time out to get through some of the demons you have, some of that emotional baggage, and then you'll decide whether or not you're ready to commit fully to a new relationship. It's there, it can happen with this current gentleman or another, but you're just not ready for that full commitment. Pearl, would you like to add?
Yes, I would, Carolyn. Hi. Well, menopause, Carolyn, it's something you can't avoid, of course, and it's there for all of us. It's going to reduce your body because menopause means that your hormones are dropping because you don't need those particular hormones at this point in time in life because you're not going to birth another child. So the whole process of fertility is no longer of a requirement to you, and the hormones are programmed to drop naturally. And they will. And that generally means that you'll put on a little bit of weight. And for most ladies, that's really inevitable. But what you can control is how much. And you can try to control that. I don't know if you do exercise, but if you don't do exercise, please consider perhaps joining a ladies' gym or a gym, or going for a walk, or Pilates is superb to do. Mind your diet. You can't eat the calories and the fats that you may have been used to having. You need to reduce your diet a little bit. You need to eat good quality nutrition and eat less of it. If you drink, you need to monitor your alcohol and perhaps drink a little bit less or a little bit less often. And of course, menopause affects your libido, your sexual activity. So moving into a new relationship, I would imagine that that's something that's very much on your mind. But what you need to consider is if the new partner is around your age or similar to your age, he's going to be an andropause as well. So his sexual activity is going to be reduced too. So what I suggest, Carolyn, is that you really have an honest talk about this between each other, and to fully understand that sex and the libido is not going to be what you were when you were 30 or 40. And come to peace with that and keep your partner talking about that and find a piece of how sex is correct for both of you, how often, what type, whatever. And if you don't feel like sex, be honest about it and say, I don't feel like it right now. Your energy drops too in menopause, but if you do exercise and you keep active, you can build that energy back. And it's perhaps a good time too to see a naturopath or a Chinese medicine practitioner or a homeopath to help balance those hot flushes that menopause brings and help to balance the hormones a little bit. So I hope this helps you.
Gosh, what a joy menopause sounds. I'm so glad I'm in Perry. Okay, our next question is from Vic B. Can you give some insight into how to differentiate between a thought and a message from spirit?
Thanks, Vic. The first thing, this highlights the danger of developing mediumship without proper training. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're not getting proper training, but within a training forum, it's much more simple because the teacher's there to teach you. But essentially what the teacher is going to tell you and assist you with over time is that you're going to get what you believe to be messages. They might be thoughts, and for a long, long time they are thoughts or dominated by thoughts. Sooner or later, by taking a risk and giving the information that you're getting that might or might not be a thought or might be a message, you're going to get it right. What you then have to do is go back into the feeling that you got. And the feeling was, what did that feel like when that message came through? What did it sound like? What was happening inside me, especially in my head at that particular time? And try and recall that for the future, because when it's from the mind, it's just a thought. It feels very, very different. That's the short answer.
Amazing. Alrighty. Hope that helped, Vicky. And our next one here is from Rebecca Joy. When a loved one passes from this lifetime and their soul reincarnates, is the spirit of the loved one able to visit us? Is there any part of their energy that is still around us?
Yes, thank you. When a person passes from this lifetime in a natural state, that means that the person dies naturally. They spend a long period of time in the spirit world, many, 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 many years. And that's like going back to school. And they go back to school to learn and to be shown what they got wrong and what they didn't get just so right in the life that they lived. And they are able to visit in the sense that they will bring their energy around you and often at times let you know that they're there. They're there to help to guide you, they're there to help to bring you comfort, but you must be open to this happening. So what you need to do, the best advice I can give is that you sit down quietly in a place quite often and you say to that loved one, can we agree a sign that you will give me so that when you come around me, I can recognize that sign. And sometimes that's just, you feel a tap on the shoulder, you feel a kiss on the cheek, you feel whatever. I know one of the common ones that people talk to me about is that a light flickers in the house or something like this. So yes, certainly, that energy, if that person wants to be around you, that energy can certainly very easily come around you and let you know that they're there. But please invite them to and thank them when they do come. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And then we have a question from Callum. Should I embark on my journey of helping others? My mum is a medium and I used to think I was full on crazy. I feel ready, and I think he says I made you chai and Lean Gather, if that rings a bell.
It certainly does.
Callum.
Hi, Callum. You didn't make me a chai, you made Pearl a chai.
And I love your chai. It's the best there
Yeah,
is.
it is, I agree. You've got a fantastic cafe. We would
Yes,
recommend it to anyone.
Yes.
Thank you. Callum, from knowing your energy, quite apart from you sending the question and the energy comes with the question, there are a lot of things going on in your life, and it's time for you, and you're very good at what you do. You're quite excellent at giving people a place to go in a cafe where the energy is great, people feel good, they're welcomed, and they get a top quality product. What you're asking is, should I take that to another level and be in service in something like mediumship? Absolutely you should. Absolutely. You're very ready, but it's a long journey, Callum, and it takes a lot of dedication. One doesn't become a medium because one says that's a nice thing to do, or my mum's a medium. It's not necessarily something we inherit. It's not genetic is what I'm trying to say. I don't have anything in my gene pool to suggest that that's the case. But what it does do is engender an interest, a spirit that that's what you want to do. And you are meant to follow this pathway, but I would urge you to follow it in a way where you're trained properly and carefully with a lot of discipline so that what comes is accurate, because the level of responsibility we carry as mediums is significant. And in Sphinx, we believe in accuracy and integrity, and we're trying to really hold mediums to account for the information that they give to others. Pearl.
Yeah, I'd love to see you in some of our teaching, Callum. I would really be excited about that. And I hope you do take it forward.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
So our next question is from Sonia, and it's about entitlement. What drives entitlement into a culture at work or socially? A lot of workers, in particular younger people, are often called entitled. What's the spiritual definition of entitlement? We hear about it a lot. And are they entitled or are they right?
Yeah. Well, people have rights at work, that's for certain. And that's why unions involved to help workers to obtain those rights. And employers have always had angst with workers over those rights. And both unions and workers and employers have a tendency to over-adjust on those rights quite often. The young today want benefits, and they want benefits that other people have worked hard for over a long period of time. And there is a belief that the employer should provide those benefits to them. And, historically, there's a responsibility on some employers for this belief because employers have in the past undersupplied a lot of rights to employees. And so the young are judging what many people have achieved at the end of a working life. They're judging what their wealth is and what their possessions is and what they're able to do, and they're saying that we want this now. The young are judging how people end up, and entitlements mean that they don't want to start at the beginning. Unless a young employee or any other employee is prepared to give more, they should not be given more. Spiritually, of course, the philosophy is one only gets what one gives. And this applies in the employment workplace just the same as anywhere else. As market forces correct over time and over the coming years, and with less jobs available to people, this will correct also because people will want to accept jobs much more easily without demanding very, very high prices. They should be paid only, anyone should be paid only in accordance with effort. And there are a lot of young people who see a number of younger people getting very wealthy through mostly technology companies and making a great deal of wealth. And they believe that therefore this should be easy to them too. And because many of our young people have grown up in a technology world, which is a world of non-reality, it causes the younger person to formulate beliefs that are not laced with reality. And so many of the demands that they're making today are not demands with reality. But certainly the spiritual advice at the end of the day is one gets in accordance with what one gives. A young person should be paid in accordance with the work that they put in. Thank you.
Incredible. Our next question is from April. What is the biggest block to my spiritual growth currently, and what do I need to do to overcome it?
Hi, April. Thank you. For you, April, the biggest block at the moment is commitment. And you would say, but I'm committed. And we would say, you've got a history of avoidance and not fully committing to anything in your life other than what's predictable. In terms of your spiritual growth, it's unpredictable because one can't see where that's going to take us and give you a lot of definition about what that means in terms of security, financial, etc. It's going to depend very much upon what you put in. Therefore, what's holding you back is an avoidance from committing absolutely every part of you, April, to something that is essentially you. And if we can do that, if we can just give all of ourselves to our growth, then what I have is that you will rocket forward. Pearl, anything?
No, I've got nothing to add to that.
Thank you.
Just keep the resilience going, April.
Another one from Rebecca. I have recently become a mother of a 4-month-old. I'm very confused returning to work. I want to be there for my baby and don't want to return to my old job.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you. This is a great one. Rebecca, I have a personal belief, and Spirit holds that belief too, that if it's at all possible for a mother to stay at home with their child for 12 months. Now, that's possible for some people, and we know that that just isn't possible, particularly today, with the financial pressure on families. That may not be possible for you. I would say to you, my advice to you would be, work out your finances of absolutely how long you're able to stay at home. If you've got a partner, work it out with your partner, how much they're prepared to support you and for how long they can support you to stay at home. And if you don't want to return to your old job, Pardon me, I would say to you, why would you return to your old job? I would say to you, start now, start right now, making inquiries and thinking about what you really do want to do. What kind of workplace is going to suit you and give you the flexibility that supports your child? Start looking for that. Perhaps start talking to employment agencies or consultants who can give you advice on this, and move forward when you're ready and when you're able to. Rebecca, Ian, do you want to add anything?
Thank you. I've just noticed that Rebecca sent in an addendum to her question,
Thank you.
and that's about a desire to work in her partner's business to grow it instead of her old job. So we take less money to help her partner's business. That's problematical, Rebecca. That might be good or that might not be good, because working with a partner is not so easy, no matter how old our child is. And whilst on one hand we can take our child to work with us much more simply because it's our family business, it is difficult. So it will come down to, before I go to that, it also means that, are you suited to work with your partner? Is the business something that inspires you, that draws you, or do you just want to grow it for the financial benefit? And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but we have to be clear in our mind as to why we want to do that. So what we would say to you is that, is it going to inspire you? Is it going to be the thing that you want? Can you work with your partner? Can you leave it at work and then come home and still have your relationship? So can you be a mother, a co-worker, a lover, a wife, all of those things at the same time? It's possible, but it's very difficult. Added to the equation is still the fact that it's second best for a 4-month-old to go back to work in any fashion. If you can avoid it for as long as possible up to that 12-month period, it's more beneficial for the child, and it gives you more time to ponder whether or not you do really want to commit yourself to working with your partner. Working with your partner, growing his business, would put you in a not an equal position. Thank you.
Rebecca, I would really like to add to that too. Please don't go to work with your partner to build up the business just because it's an easy way of managing your home and managing your child. Ian and I, we have worked together for many, many, many years as husband and wife. I'm not sure how many. Certainly 20 plus, a lot more than 20 plus, Rebecca. And you have to have a really, really strong relationship to be able to do that. And you have to have certainly found some kind of equality in that relationship so that you're not always feeling as though you're the spare one. So if you can make that work for you and you think that's part of what you can do, go for it. I say go for it. But make you number one in your choices next to your child.
Fantastic. So our next question is from Clara. I have lost hope of finding love in my life. I'm 50 and I just feel like it won't happen for me. Should I give up, or is there still hope for me? How do you know if you should give up or keep trying?
You can take that.
Thank you, Pearl. Hi, Clara. I hope your day's good. We're 50 and we've given up almost on the prospect of love. The mere fact that we've raised it says we haven't given up. It says that we're hopeful and we're looking for a bit of a boost in the hope department. 50 is young to have given up, so it will depend pretty much on what your expectations are. A lot of people have relationships where they don't need much, they don't want much, they're not overly happy, they're not overly fulfilled, but it allows them to do all of the things that they want to do in life other than be loving. What you're putting in the question is that I want to be loving. I want to have a strong, powerful relationship. And if I'm not finding it, it's because I've chosen to not do second best. I want to have a great relationship or something powerful that can grow into a great relationship, or nothing. And we would say that's a fantastic attitude. It's just a case of keeping on looking. For you, Clara, let me tell you that if you're 50, that's good news, because at 51, your energy shifts and that's the time that there's a new relationship able to come in. You just have to be ready.
Woohoo! I'd be excited if I was Clara with that message. So this is from Peter Anthony. Increasingly, I've just lost it. I know it's about intolerance. Increasingly in society these days, there seems to be increasing intolerance towards those with alternative viewpoints or beliefs. What is the best way to respond to intolerance?
Yeah. Well, of course, Peter, there always has been intolerance as far back as history goes, and probably as far forward as history will go. There has been intolerance, and there's intolerance because different groups of people don't behave in the same way. And what is different today is that the world was shut down for a long period of time. And it was shut down, and it stopped progress, it stopped people thinking, and it stopped people being creative. And millions of people were injected with substance that were ostensibly to protect them from the COVID virus. And of course, we know now that it didn't protect them from the COVID virus. And people are now reacting. They're reacting to the draconian use of laws that took away their rights and their freedom. And in some ways, some of these groups are acting in not such a reasonable way, but in a way that can be expected because of what was put upon them. And a lot of views of people today are fanciful, Peter, but at least these people are expressing. And expressing is much healthier for mental health than what suppression is. And suppression was happening in that closing down of the world globally. And the vast majority are still operating under a regime of oppression. And therefore, they're reacting to their freedom being taken away, and they're reacting to the not wanting to give up their own free will. And, radical views are a way of creating a democracy. That is how a democracy of some type is created. And people should celebrate. We should celebrate that people today are speaking out, that people today are expressing what they feel. And it's much better to celebrate that people are doing that rather than it is to really spend an awful lot of time looking at the content of what they're expressing about. It's a changing time in society. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Maria has written and said that there's a lot of talk, especially on the internet, about ETs coming to Earth. Should we be afraid of ETs?
Oh, no, Maria, we should not be afraid of ETs. Maria are traveling people. We call them, the Spirit calls them traveling people. And why do we call them traveling people? Because that's exactly what they do. They are alive. They are living just like us. They are not a dead spirit. They are people, if you want to call them that. They are entities living and doing a job just as we are, but from planets that are much more advanced than what we are in every way and in every aspect. And many of those traveling people are coming to Earth, firstly to protect the Earth, to stabilize the Earth, to stop us from blowing ourselves up and stop us from trying to destroy the Earth. That is their job, and to bring information to us across all aspects of science. And of course, there are many reasons why governments and parties would wish to give us information to cause us fear about the traveling people coming forward. I would ask you not to listen too much to that. The traveling people are here to help us. And of course, you will notice, like most countries are at the moment, they are coming more often and they're showing themselves more than what they have done in previous years. And this is because our world, this planet Earth, is needing them more at this point in time. So you're very lucky if you see them and smile and thank them and be not afraid, Maria. Thank you.
Excellent. This question is from Julia. She's just texted me in. And it's, how do you get over heartbreak? Gosh, love really is a big topic, isn't it? All the more reason for everyone to come to Francis Bacon next month for relationships. How do you get over heartbreak or stop yourself feeling love for a person who you know is not suitable for you?
I would question that it's love that you're feeling. You're feeling a lot of things, but I would debate whether or not that's love, given the scenario that you accept that they're not suitable for you. Mostly, and I'm not specifically addressing your issue yet. Is it Maria?
This was Julia.
Julia, I'm so sorry, Julia. We're not yet specifically addressing your question, but and your case in point. But what we're saying is that when you've been in a relationship that hasn't worked, and you're not sure what that means, and you've decided to leave it, and you still think you feel a love, you're feeling a loss. You're feeling a loss of what you had, and what you had, if it's not love, then it was convenience. It was opportunistic. It was better than being alone in your world. So you're in a hiatus, and you're unsure of being in that hiatus, and you're unsure of what's ahead of you. So you're pondering and going backwards. Should I go back? That's normal after any split in any relationship, and that generally goes on for about 12 months. And the biggest time after a relationship break when people ponder should they return is around the 9-month mark. This is the period I would put to you that you're in or you're going through. So it's an uncertainty about yourself. We're dealing with a lack of self-belief and a lack of conviction that you're worthy of love. We say all people are. Very few people choose to want love. And the brave option is always to go for love. Pearl.
Yeah, certainly I would just say to you, the way to mend a broken heart is to find a new love. It's as simple as that. Fill it up, fill the hole up, and go out and find another one. And they will be there.
Well, that's a tweetable or thread moment. What a great piece of advice. This is another question that's been sent in by Peter Anthony on artificial intelligence. In short, what is Spirit's view on AI, especially now that it's being rapidly introduced into society, with, as he says, with adequate oversight or an understanding of the consequences that may follow?
That is generally accepted now that there are inadequate oversights, but that's after the horse has bolted and there wasn't enough thought given to it. AI was introduced originally for basic reasons and to relieve people of mundane tasks and things that weren't that critical to human life. The problem with AI is that it's meant to follow the mind of a human, but without the values. So it can't make those subjective judgments each time it does something. It can only refer to the knowledge that's been put into it by people whose values we don't know. So it's fraught with problems in every way we look at it, and it could go to all sorts of places. The difficulty and the greatest difficulty with AI is that it's brought a lot of people a lot of money because lazy people use it to make their life more lazy. And as a consequence of that, it earns money. As a consequence of that, people want to earn more money. And then the possibilities of what AI can do start to loom large, including as a weapon of war. It's quite evident that one of the aims of AI is in the use of robots, and it'll be robots fighting humans or robots fighting robots in the case of war. And again, this is devoid of so much human intervention. It is scary. We agree. Spirit absolutely agrees. It's a little bit out of control. It is out of control. The only good thing is that it's now being talked about, that it's out of control. And from there might be some self-regulation. The trouble is governments haven't regulated it. They haven't taken their role. They haven't acted in advance of this phenomena. But that's typical of governments worldwide. Governments rarely act in advance. Their laws are almost always catch up. So here we go back to the same thing as to how a government should work to help society. So far on Earth, they haven't worked that way.
I would just like to add to that too, if I don't mind, Peter. You know, it's the usual situation, Peter. The ego of some scientists have gone crazy because they now realize with technology what they can do. And of course, with ego comes power, and the power is the ability to make money. And as Ian quite correctly said, where are the morals? You know, the courts are full of judgments being brought down every day on the issue of morals. But who takes a machine to court and who judges their morals? And a machine working without morals can be catastrophic for the earth and catastrophic for this planet. So yes, for money it will continue, but as Ian very, very rightly said, governments here have a responsibility to say where it has to stop. And some governments, I think in Europe at the moment, I believe, have actually recently taken some of those steps. Let's hope our government does the same.
You mentioned values in that answer, and Sonia has sent in a message about values and how you've spoken about how they're the key to growth, and these same values should be put towards families and all businesses. But most workplaces have created their own values. So what's the relationship between the spiritual values and a company's values?
There are a few things there. Companies espouse values but rarely live to them. It's mostly a set of words, and it's mostly done to have some accord between management and the workplace, so we have some supposed joint goal. But because it's not actually lived out, they're fanciful, and it's not a reality. And moreover, the values in a company rarely are as high as the values of an individual who works in the company with good values. Therefore, so many people enter through the portals of a workplace and need to decrease their value set so as to survive and exist in the organisation. Underlying this question from Sonia is a premise that we can look up to companies. There's no evidence of that. There's none at all. And their history as employers is not good. And they've had to, part of the evidence of that, they've had to have that counterbalance of unions to make sure workers got their rights. That should never have needed to be. It should have always been that employers took on a broader perspective of their role, but they haven't, because they've become rapacious. It's been driven by money, and that's underlying it now. So the values that companies espouse so often are based upon they're fine so long as it's still driving the money for us. So for an individual to work in a workplace and survive in it, it's not easy if the value set's lower. If they stand out, well, then that will cause its own issues within the workplace, but only if the worker says, I'm only here to get promoted. If a worker's saying, I'm here to show myself, to show who I am, to show my values, and hopefully other people in this workplace will learn from that and draw from that and become better people as a consequence, they've succeeded, notwithstanding their position, their salary, or anything else.
Great. Now we have a question. Something I recognise is that I often feel insecure and have for a large part of my life. It feels entrenched. What are my first steps for changing this, please?
Okay. Yeah, how are you? Eustacia, how are you? Insecurity, as you would know because you have done some talking with me before, insecurity commences from somewhere or another in childhood. And in order to stop the feeling of insecurity, you need to be taken back to where that point in childhood caused that, and to help you, for a counsellor to help you to try and draw from you why you are needing to carry this forward with you, Because the reality is you don't need to carry this insecurity. It commenced at a time long gone in the past. You can leave it behind in the past, but you do need to be taught some steps of how you can do that. So I'm going to say to you, a few sessions of counselling ought to put in place some goals for you to actually do that, to identify what it really is that you're insecure about, or indeed if you are using insecurity as a tool to avoid things that you ought to be doing. So please, a few sessions of counselling with a counsellor of your choice. Thank you.
Great.
Carla, before we go on, may I go back to Rebecca from earlier?
Yes.
Rebecca was the dear lady who's got the 4-month child and pondering a return to work. What I didn't add to that, Rebecca, was that you would be pondering a return to work for financial reasons. Therefore, you would have to ponder your financial position at the moment and into the future if you don't go back to work. So there's the conflict, where do we find the balance? What I would like to give you is that what I have for you is that in the next, between now and in the next 6 to 8 months, your finances and your financial position will be at least as good and a little bit better than they are now. So if we can survive now, you're going to survive more easily until 12 months is up.
Fantastic. I'm sure Rebecca appreciates that. And I think we've got a question here from Loretta. Is there a great love for me? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Thanks, Pearl.
He loves the love question.
Oh dear. Linda, is there a great love for you? Linda, one of the problems you face is that you don't have a great love for yourself. And during the course of your life, you have sold yourself short. And that's sad because you have such an inherent depth and quality about you as a person. But that childhood, that background has caused you to not value yourself as much as you should. If you want a great love, how about we start at the point of loving and appreciating yourself more, and can you stop selling yourself short, which means if we keep on trying to have flings, relationships, whatever it is you would wish to describe them as, just for the sake of it or for the thrill of sex, that's fine, but it's not a journey, it's not a pathway in any respect to a great love. Start with yourself, then there's scope. Can it happen? It might, but it won't be quick.
Thank you. And our next question is from Elka. In my work with young people, I'm noticing an increased lack of empathy for their peers. Would this be due to parenting styles as well as external influences?
Yes, Elka. Well, I think actually if you were listening earlier and we talked a little bit about the expectations from young people, what will be given. But, young people have seen a lot of intolerance towards them in the past 3 years. This has happened globally, like I said, from the lockdowns. And they have learned that politics don't care much about them. And unfortunately, what they are saying now today is, why should we care? Because we're not being shown an example. We're not being led in that fashion. It's not being mirrored to us in any way. So, and they're carrying out the same dismissive kind of behavior to each other. You're very fortunate to be working with these young people because this is what you can teach them. And this is what you can teach them is that what was done to them in the past few years is not what they ought to be doing to other people, that they ought to use the example of these great lockdowns and shutdowns as an example that that is not what they do to other people. I hope this helps you, Alka.
Can I just add to that what I'm hearing from that is it's the growth of the selfish generation, and as Pearl has said, that stems when we have companies, governments, organisations being so selfish. Naturally, the young will follow. It's very sad.
It's kind of really, they're saying, we've been hurt. We have been cast aside. I, in my work as a counsellor, I'm seeing this from young people, and this is what young people are telling me. We missed school, we missed our debs, we missed this, we missed that, we missed the other. People didn't care about us. Why should we? But it is our job to teach them that, yes, there is a reason why they should be different.
Thank you. Ashley is 24 and she wrote in to say that she had an experience that was diagnosed as a psychotic break. But how do you tell the difference between a spiritual awakening or a psychic experience or having a psychotic break? A lot of people I know talk about seeing things or feeling things or hearing things. Are they psychic?
Thank you. What was her name?
Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you very much for the question. Ashley, first of all, a psychotic experience is dependent upon drug taking. Very few people, if any, have a psychotic experience without a background of licit or illicit drugs happening, especially hallucinogenic drugs. And if they haven't done it, it could be in their gene pool, and it will show through sooner or later. That's the first thing to decide. If there's any history in your background or anyone else listening of drugs or hallucinogenic drugs of any description, then the likelihood of it being psychotic is much higher. And what's given in a psychotic experience is delusional. It's not pure, and it's mostly going to lead people down the wrong pathway in life. It's not meant to enlighten them or help them. It's more an escape and avoidance and fanciful. A spiritual experience where in a similar sort of a way, we can hear a voice, we can be shown something. And a lot of people, that begins with flashing of colours. Or an entity will appear right in front of them. And what that's meant to be is a sign that says that you're meant to pursue that spiritual awakening. So it's not that you're necessarily there yet. It's time to start the training in order to get there. How do we know it's different? The purity of that spiritual experience as distinct from what's taking place in a psychotic experience, chalk and cheese.
And I would like to add to that too, that just because a person has stopped taking drugs or any kind of psychotic, any kind of hallucinogenic substance, just because you've stopped doesn't mean that these psychotic attacks can't happen at any time way down the line in a future time. The damage is done. The mind has been polluted and the mind has been damaged. And the mind can throw up some really devastating effects many, many years past the taking of these substances.
Yeah, thank you. Also, in the spiritual realm, people don't seem to understand and practice what we call protection. That is, that not every entity up there is from the higher realms. Not every entity is there to help you. There are plenty of entities who are earthbound and plenty of entities who are in the lower spheres who are there to do you ill. And they, if I can use the term loosely, seduce people and start off with something that sounds very nice and then take them off track. And once you're possessed with a lower entity, it's very, very difficult to get rid of it, and they tend to consume your life. And one of the ways, and certainly not the only way, to attract these lower entities is delving into things such as Ouija boards, where we're attracting earthbound entities. And I would like to stress that we're not talking about those who in a pure fashion use psychic tools such as tarot, numerology, astrology, etc. They're very proper psychic tools, as distinct from spiritual.
We're coming up to 60 minutes and we've had quite a few people write in asking to hear Francis Bacon's message again. So maybe if I find that for you.
I think you're sitting on it.
I'm sitting on it. Just getting as close to Francis Bacon as possible.
Thank you. From Francis Bacon we love. We absolutely love. He is a star. And this is his message repeated. When you believe that the world has gone mad, reflect upon your own behaviour and whether that categorises good or bad behaviour to others. For when you believe the world has gone mad, it's because you believe that much of what is taking place is bad. It's easy to pass responsibility for a mad world to others, named or unnamed. It's much more difficult to assess your own role in it, including what you've done and haven't done. Earth is composed of individuals and organisations who represent individuals. Thus, the method of making it a better world resides with the individual. If each individual sets out to make their behaviour better, even by a little bit, sooner or later it will cause the people leading organisations who make decisions on behalf of the world to raise their standard in decision making along with the community expectation. Better behaviour doesn't necessarily come from shouting it from the rooftops or becoming unruly. It comes from living to a set of values to make you more tolerant and accepting of each other, valuing each other's right to live on earth and prosper as people through the use of goodwill.
Amazing. And on that, well, we will upload that to the Spiritual Renaissance website and Facebook pages. And I want to thank you both from off screen. So please keep sending in your messages and questions, because this is going to be a regular thing. And thank you to the both of you for sharing your knowledge, and for everyone joining us today.
Thank you.
It's
been a pleasure. And thanks, Nick and Sonia and Carla.
Thank you.
Take care. Be brave. Be you.